Welcome back. Welcome back to another episode of the Bench Mob Ent podcast, the best sports podcast in New Jersey. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you share this. Tell any and everybody about it. We're trying to be here for a good time and a long time. We got the big three back on for this episode tonight. We got a lot for y'all. We're going to be talking about week 2, talking about some of the 0-2 teams, talk about Bryce Young getting benched. We're going to talk a little bit basketball probably at some point. Talk a little baseball, hot takes, the whole usual. You're going to get a bunch of stuff for a good price. It's like a buffet. When you come to watch an episode, Bench Mob Ent is a buffet. You could get all you can eat of a lot of great topics. Fellas, how y'all doing?
Doing good. I'm good, bro. I'm good. Miles better than me. He's 1-1.
Hey, but you already knew and expected that it wasn't going to be any type of special season.
I'm dead inside. I thought this. I was ready for this exact moment. I'm prepared to start off 0-7. That's where we headed right now. That's okay though.
Hey, and I want to make sure that those that keep DMing the Bench Mob account making fun of the Giants. Greg told y'all he didn't expect them to make the playoffs or do anything special, so y'all could stop sending the DMs, stop making the jokes. Greg truly does not care. He's looking forward. He's looking forward to this quarterback draft coming up this year. 4 teams, the Titans, Giants, Broncos, Panthers, all have something in common. It's not that they are winless, but what they have in common is that they'll be watching the quarterbacks of this draft class because they will probably need another quarterback. Starting off today's episode, we're going to start off with Greg's top 5 quarterback rankings in college football.
Yeah, man. This week is interesting, and I think the landscape is interesting too. When I first did this, when we first started rolling this out, I was trying to just go off of the draft eligible guys. I think I'm gonna just go off the best guys I saw. All right, and the number one best guy I saw this weekend was Arch Manning, which is crazy. And I feel like people would think it's overreaction or hyperbole, but I know he wasn't playing anybody special. But he was phenomenal, and it was about the traits that he showed, being able to take off, and he got that QB option play where he took it out to the crib and ran. He hit 20 miles an hour on the gun is what they said, as well. So, and then his ability to throw the football, right? And I mean, obviously we expect a man to be able to throw the ball, right? But he throws with anticipation. He doesn't have like a crazy arm. He really does do it by throwing with anticipation, and he's accurate. So I'm really a fan of his, and I thought he was phenomenal this past weekend. I'm surprised some people with the next guy. I think Jalen Milroe was phenomenal this past weekend. Jalen Milroe's quietly become one of the best deep passers in college football, right? And I look, I've seen this before. He's gonna morph into Jalen Hurts in my head, and I've seen this movie before, and I know Jalen Hurts didn't become what he is now in college. That wasn't exactly how it happened. All right, it happened later on once he got to the pros. But if Jalen Milroe is developing nicely, I got to give him credit. I was not a Jalen Milroe believer, but he is winning with his arm. He still needs to throw the ball over the middle of the field more. But if you can pair his athletic ability with throwing the ball with accuracy, timing, and anticipation, he has a chance to be a top pick in the draft, which I mean would shock me as well. So I got him at number 2. My guy is next, Cam Ward. This is the guy I'm beating the drum about. Pause. And so I'm big on the Cam Ward train here, man. And so I really would love Cam Ward to be a New York Giant. But yeah, I think he's just keeping up with the excellent play. He hasn't played any Power 5 or any great school yet. I mean, obviously he played Florida, but Florida is down this year. So we got to see him play against the tougher part of the schedule, and we'll really get more insight about him. But one of the Heisman leaders, and he's shown everything you'd want out of a guy who you're considering. That you're considering for a top pick, and you're considering to be a franchise quarterback. So Cam Ward's my guy. Reminds me of Jordan Love. The next guy, Nico. I gotta learn how to pronounce his name to do him some justice. He deserves that much. But Lame Lava, I think it is. I probably got it wrong, but Nico has been just phenomenal. This whole year, throwing seeds, and he's accurate. He hits everybody in stride. He can run. He's the complete package. He's the number 1 pick in his class, guaranteed as a lock. It's just a matter of whenever he's eligible for the draft, which I believe would be next year, but I might be wrong. You have to fact check me on that as well. And then at 5, I'm gonna surprise people again. I'm gonna surprise people again. I mean, this weekend I thought Jackson Dart had a good was good. He's been playing very very well. And I think Jackson Dart deserves some love, right? As well. Not exactly my favorite prospect in the draft, but he's killing in that system. I mean, he's had games where he's had less than two complete incompletions, right? Playing for Lane Kiffin in that system, so he understands the system, understands how to operate it, can run, dual threat quarterback, not like a extremely great athlete, but throws the ball well. I want to see more anticipatory throws. I want to see him play against better teams. We'll get there, but I think he deserves some love. So that's my top 5 for now this week, but it fluctuates as you guys can see as well.
Yeah, most definitely. I don't have no problem with that list. Most that watch it, that's been paying attention to college football, won't have a problem with that list. For those that might be asking, oh, what about Shador? Shador, I'm sure, is in his top 10 honorable mention. Shador
Short
got
was
some
6 for
other,
me.
yeah, Shador got some other stuff that he need to focus on, which we might discuss at a later episode. Off the field, his leadership. I'm not a fan of his leadership personally.
You felt some kind of way about him. I'm doing that thing again. But you felt some kind of way about him not shaking dude's hand.
Uh man, I don't. From what it was said that he said something about him on Instagram and things of that nature. I still don't like his approach.
Mhm.
I across the board, like I get talking trash and all that, but yeah, we'll say that for a whole nother day. I'm gonna let it rock. We're gonna see how he go. I just say this with Shador. Shador is like a front runner to me. When they're winning, Shador talking all the mess, this, that, and third. When they losing, he quiet and he blame a lot of other people. He don't take accountability. And if we be completely honest, up until this point, you ain't done nothing. You haven't won nothing. You ain't led the nation in passing ever. You ain't won a Heisman. You ain't won 10, 12 games. You haven't done nothing. Even at Jackson State, y'all had a bowl game. You choked. You, your daddy, Shiloh, and your brother that was recording. Y'all all choked. So till you do something, I'm not a fan of how he approaches the game, how he handles stuff. That's just me. We're gonna stay in that conversation though of QBs. We'll be doing this every now and then throughout the season called the QB room because it's the most important position probably in all of sports. QB that you know we have to talk about. He's on the thumbnail. You see it. Everybody's been talking about it. Everybody's had their own opinion about it. Players that are playing right now have had their opinion about it. Coaches, players that's retired. Bryce Young, we're going to start off with the QB room. We're going to start off with Bryce Young. 55.4 completion percentage right now, 0 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 245 yards. For his career, he has 11 TDs, 13 interceptions. Is he a bust or can he do better elsewhere?
I don't think he's a bust. I mean, you can't be a bust after. I mean, he just probably now finished a full season of games, and he's playing on the Panthers, who were picking number one for a reason. Like the things that they do over there, the way they run, it's not the best organization in football. So, I mean, they got rid of DJ Moore right before he got there, so they've been scratching and clawing to find another star receiver to get him. Uh, and then I also think he should have sat last year. I mean, he wasn't ready for the NFL, um, and especially in Carolina, it would have helped for him to sit back and learn and watch. Because I mean, when you throw Andy Dalton out there, I mean, he's been in the league for what 15 years now, and the offense, same offense that he was running, looks a lot smoother with Andy Dalton than it does with Bryce Young. And we'll see if it's the same way this year with him starting now. But this, I think, could be good for Bryce to kind of sit back. Uh, it was kind of what the Jets were thinking last year with Zach Wilson is maybe if he sits back and watches somebody and how they approach the game and how they uh, day in and day out kind of uh, work habits. Maybe he's able to become a startable quarterback in this league. But right now, I mean, he's got one foot out the door. Technically, I mean, once you're getting benched already like this, I mean, the organization failed him as is, but um, it's not looking too good for him right now. But I mean, he's got to take it in stride. You got a rookie head coach. He's still trying to figure things out. He's trying to build a competitive environment. And right now, if you look at the two games, they were never competitive. Bryce Young looked really gun shy out there. So uh, maybe Andy Dalton can spark something. Because, I mean, you can lose a team like this. If your quarterback, young quarterback, is going out there and making bonehead throws, which he never made at Alabama. Some of these throws, it's like these are new habits that he's developed in the last year. And that's coaching that's on him as well. Like you can't blame all of it on coaching, but um, yeah, I think this is the best thing for him right now. Like it can only get worse if you keep throwing him out there and he's playing and he's still developing these bad habits and he's not learning how to fix it. Like you can't always learn how to fix it in a bad offense. And I think Andy Dalton, granted, the Red Rocket was never a superstar, but he was a serviceable quarterback out there, so he could learn something. He could learn a thing or two from
Yeah, I mean, I think Miles hit the nail on the head with a lot of things he said. But for me, I mean, I really have a heavy focus on the Panthers and their malpractice that got us to this point. And I know Miles talked about it, saying they failed him, and they did. I mean, it might even be an understatement, yeah, right? Like he got there, and you've gotten rid of every single talented player on the roster since he got there. You've done everything imaginable to make sure he wouldn't be successful. You've gotten rid of your Frank Reich was there. Frank Reich was a part of the brain trust that drafted him. Now, from what I understand, Frank Reich there may have been some division in the front office where Frank Reich might have wanted C.J. Stroud and Tepper wanted Bryce Young. We all heard about that, and so maybe that's why Frank Reich isn't there. Sure, fine, but what kind of that division right there, that moment is when you guys messed up and when this kid was never going to be successful because half you guys wanted him, half you guys didn't want him. So you guys weren't all in on the pick, which means you weren't all in on investing in him and making sure he was going to be successful, which is why we end up in a situation where you can trade Brian Burns for less than you originally got for him. You can trade, I don't know if the McCaffrey trade was after he arrived or before, or maybe it was slightly before. I'm trying to remember the timeline of how that all happened. But the reality is, it don't matter when it happened. He's gone too, right? He's a guy that could have helped as well, and also DJ Moore, right? Trading him to Chicago was another decision that just makes you scratch your head. So now you give him Xavier Legette and whoever, but Adam Thielen who's 40, like, and then the offensive line gives up I think over 60 sacks. He got sacked like 60 times. Right? I mean, I think last year he got sacked an insane amount of times. And look, take it from a guy who's watched Daniel Jones up close. Okay, I think Bryce Young is far more talented than Daniel Jones. I think he throws the ball. I think his college tape screams that, and there's a reason why he went number one. But the one thing those two have in common is you get hit that many times, your clock is going to get messed up, right? You lose confidence. You don't trust what's around you. You don't trust what you see. And when you don't trust what you see, you look bad. You look like the way he looks, and he's missing easy throws he can make in his sleep. His college tape is unreal. It's unreal. He can make every throw imaginable. He's able to make guys miss. You get throw off platform, throw the ball before a guy's even looking and hit him in stride. There's nothing he can't do. So I feel terrible for him. I think it's really backhanded benching him, and I understand why they did it, but just the way they did it, right? To not have a conversation with him beforehand, right? As your number one pick, it's your franchise quarterback, as a guy you picked and you paraded around. When he got drafted, they rolled him out, rolled the blue carpet, so to speak, for him, and had him walking into a pack pep rally or whatever, where the whole community showed up, all 10 of them, and you sent him out there, and this is how you do him at the end. To me, it's crazy. It's crazy. So it really bothered me. It bothered me not just because he's a good dude, but because he can play. He can play, and I think if he went somewhere else and got a fresh start, you'd see that. So you look at the Sam Darnold reclamation project that's happening now. Look at the Baker Mayfield, right? The highs and lows of his career and where he is now. Um, the right coach can bring it out of you. It's so much about this is about situation, and I think this is another example of that. I don't think he's a bust, I think it looks that way because he's in the wrong situation. And I'm not saying that it's not his play isn't his fault. He's not responsible at all. But in football, you are so dependent on other people around you to perform well for you to do your job that you can't just look at it in a vacuum and say it's his fault. So yeah, the Panthers make me sick as an organization. They're a joke, and I feel bad for anybody who's a Panthers fan. They should be the storming Tepper's house. Not actually, not actually. I'm not encouraging insurrection or whatever, but you know what I mean. I'm not he who must not be named, but you know what I mean. You know what I mean.
I think he's.
What just happened?
No, I was just gonna respond and say I think he's right now closer to Zach Wilson than he is what Sam Darnold was. If we're looking at it, like Sam at least showed a lot. He had a lot on tape of some special plays. Like Zach Wilson, very erratic, very. He needed more seasoning. Basically, he needed to sit. That's what I'm seeing um, with Bryce. I mean, Sam also needed to sit, but Sam was probably the second talented, most talented in that draft behind Josh Allen. I mean, he was touted as everybody were tanking for Sam at that point. And same thing with Bryce Young. Bryce Young, but also the problem is having a 5'9", 180-pound quarterback in this day and age of football. I don't know. It's a tough sell um, for me. I'm sure I don't know what their process was for the draft, and um, CJ just seemed like hindsight is 2020, but CJ definitely fit the billing of an NFL quarterback. Bryce Young, he's more like Deshaun Jackson size than he is, Kyler Murray or Drew Brees or something like that. So I think he's just going to have a tough time, period, handling the day in and day out of pro football. And that's fine. I mean, it happens. You're not always going to hit on every pick, but Bryce Young, he's going to have to go somewhere else and hope that maybe a team is willing to take a chance on him and let him develop and see. But like in Carolina, I think it's done. I think it's done. He might get another chance, so be it. But I mean, they've already shown their cards. They're already thinking of next steps. I mean, if you're benching your number one pick already in year two, I mean, I'm sure they're already having conversations of, all right, we've got maybe another year. Let him try it next year, and then we're looking for our guy in year four.
Well, all I'm saying about this is that no matter who they put in that situation, if they drafted C.J. Stroud, I don't think that C.J. Stroud is the guy we see now. He's not. I don't even think there's an argument for that. I think C.J. Stroud would have shown flashes and been better than Bryce. I'm not saying that he probably would have been a bit better, but it's hard to thrive in that situation. Like Mahomes, if you just took Mahomes out of college and plopped him in that situation, you didn't give him the year behind Alex Smith, and he has to play behind that in that situation in that cesspool over there. He's not going to be Patrick Mahomes. He's not the guy we see right now. He's not. So, and by the way, you see it. Patrick Mahomes struggles today, right? I mean, he struggled this past weekend sometimes. He can still struggle with certain defensive coverages and making mistakes and things like that. Can you imagine if he didn't have the infrastructure that Andy Reid has built around him and the Chiefs have built around him, right? He's not playing in that well-oiled machine as an offense. So I'm telling you, so much of this stuff is about situation. I just really believe that like there's not many guys. I don't think it's anybody I can think of as a quarterback who would have thrived. I don't think any quarterback ever would have thrived in the situation that's in Carolina. I'm not sure any of them would have survived that situation. And I'm not saying that's not to say that Bryce is as good as the CJ Stroud or whoever else you want to throw in there. Patrick Mahomes, I use him as an example, but they'll look bad too. I mean, there's plays where he snaps the ball and you get hit right in your face right away. No time to even go through a read. So I don't know, man. I feel for him. He's talented, and obviously the size concern is very fair. But I think he'd be better than this if he had something close to an NFL roster. Right now, he's playing with a bunch of. He's playing with me out there right now. That's what he's playing. So sad.
Hey, speaking to that, which is true at any point a quarterback could struggle. I mean, we saw Sam Darnold even came up after the game, was like, yo, Flores, you had a pretty good defensive scheme right there. So it can happen to the best of them. It matters of a big part of it is situation. Where do you think could be the best situation? I'm gonna list these four teams. You let me know where would be the best situation for Bryce Young to bounce back. It's been rumored Raiders, Rams, Dolphins, Giants.
I'd say the Rams. I mean, they don't have a exit strategy for Stafford. He'll go under that McVay offense and kind of get to learn a little bit. And I mean, they have weapons there already. They've got a solid running back. Puka is going to be there for years to come. We'll see if Cooper Cup is still there at some point. But I mean, the best place to go is there. I mean, Miami. Eh, I'd rather go to LA. I think he could possibly thrive under Sean McVay's offense over there. But I don't think any of those places he's going to start right away. He's just got to sit and kind of learn, similar to what like Sam did. He sat in Carolina, he sat in San Fran last year and learned a little bit. And I feel like he's all the more better for it for doing that. I mean, he's only 26 years old, and he's probably going to get, if he keeps playing like this, a Mayfield type of deal next year from somebody, maybe even New York in blue.
Oh, yeah, this guy. It's possible. Anything's better than what we got. But yeah, I mean, I think the Rams are the easy answer to that question. I think Miles hit the nail on the head. I don't think the Raiders are a great situation. I know Devontae damn near really won him a game by himself this past weekend. Is what he did. He's quarterback proof as well. But if I'm Bryce, I'm looking to go play for a coach that understands offense at a high level, can coach offense, and Sean McVay makes the quarterback's life easier. We saw him do it for Jared Goff. He held his hand to a Super Bowl, right? So he literally did. So I mean, it's I think that's the best situation for Bryce. Looking at where he is in his career, what he needs right now, he needs a solid foundation and infrastructure around him. And I don't think Antonio Pierce, much as I like him, provides that. And the Giants, I just don't think he fits the build of the build of the quarterback that Brian Dibble is basically telling people he likes. Which he's more likely to like Zach Wilson than Bryce Young, because he likes big arm guys. Like that's his thing. So I don't know. That's my read on it, to be quite honest.
That's the other thing, though. I don't think it would work with New York because of that media.
Mm.
Bryce struggled in. It's a tough situation playing for the Panthers. Really bad organization. But imagine he struggled in New York. You
Oh
would
yeah.
literally, you need to have somebody with him 24/7 for his mental health because New York media, New
Hmm.
York and Philadelphia media are some of the most ruthless medias in all of the world. I can say they can be ruthless just with all the Middle East, and they could be right there with them too. So absolutely, it's kind of a blessing. You still in Carolina. Next player, Caleb Williams, came with a lot of hype. He has started off his career so far 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 56.1 completion percentage. He's been sacked 9 times, which is tied for the most in the NFL at this point. He's struggled so far. Is this more on Caleb Williams or that O line?
I have a different answer. I think it's more on the offensive coordinator, in my opinion. I like watching that offense. I hate the route combinations. I really don't understand what they're trying to do. There'll be blitzes, all out blitzes against Caleb. Happened a couple times on Sunday night, and there's no hot route, no route in the middle of the field, nothing easy for him to get to. Everything's down the field. Everybody's running a long, elaborate route, and before you know it, Caleb's running for his life, or he's on the ground, or he's getting blindside hit, right? And so I just don't like the offensive coordinator. And look, I sent you guys the video of Jackson Smith and Jigba talking about Shane Waldron, where he basically pled the fifth when asked about him. And I think it says a lot. And Geno is playing better football ever since he's been gone, by the way. Geno is playing much better this year than he was last year, right? He looks like the Geno that emerged the year before. So it's not a coincidence that Shane Waldron leaves and all of a sudden their offensive ailments and problems are all gone in Seattle and they're making plays and guys are getting back to 100-yard receiving days and Jackson Smith and Jigba looks like the first round pick he is and the talented receiver we all thought he would be, right? Last year he struggled. Outside of a few moments, he flashed only, right? And that's in large part because it really does. Again, your offensive coordinator has so much influence on the offense and how successful you guys can be because he's drawing up your routes in certain situations. It's all about timing in the NFL. It's about being on time. Don't watch Lamar Jackson and think that's the way the NFL works. It's not. It's not about running around till you find something. That's not the game. It can't happen every play. It happens once in a while. That's what you're supposed to do. Um, is being on time, being on rhythm. So, and sometimes even be early, right, with anticipation. So, yeah, I think with that situation, I blame the offensive coordinator, and I also say this: it's also Caleb's fault too. It's both because Caleb is trying to do too much. He thinks he's still at USC. You're trying to be Superman. I know he calls himself Superman and all that nonsense. You're in the NFL playing against the best athletes in the world. You can't do that anymore. That is done. The days of you trying to escape pressure and make 10 guys miss and run up the field and throw it across your body, that's a once a game type of play. It doesn't happen 3 or 4 times. You're trying to make that play 3 or 4 times a game and they're ending in catastrophe for him. That's the reality of it. Right. And I do think another aspect of it is that he's put too much pressure on himself. And I think that with Caleb Williams, when I look at him and the amount of hype he had on him and the way the city looks at him, right? Because they have never had a quarterback of that they can believe in before. Although Justin Fields is probably somewhere saying, "Shut up, Greg," and he probably deserves to say that because he's playing great, right? He's playing good football, but you know. With him, I just feel like he's put a lot of pressure on himself, and I look at him and I appreciate LeBron James even more. Caleb Williams makes me appreciate LeBron even more because LeBron had 10 times the pressure, but it's comparable in terms of how the city views him and how the city viewed LeBron coming in. And LeBron didn't waver 25, 5, and 5 every night, every night, right? And so it's not easy to do that. I think Caleb's an example of that. And when you look at Caleb, just appreciate LeBron a little more. I'm sure people who hate LeBron will love that message, but it's true.
Next quarterback, we're going to be on the positive side. Derek Carr, 76.9 per completion percentage, 443 yards, 5 touchdowns, 1 interception. He is number one in passer rating thus far, 142.4. Number one in QBR, 96.2. Number one in yards per pass attempt with 11.4. Is this sustainable? What Derek Carr has started off in these first 2 weeks.
I mean, I think it'll slow down a little bit, but I think it's sustainable under this new offense with Clint Kubiak. There's a lot more motion out there. Olave hasn't even gotten going yet. It's really him and Shaheed have a great deep ball connection. And Derek Carr, I mean, he's shown in the past that he can throw a pretty good deep ball. Not to mention having Alvin Kamara as someone who takes the pressure off of you a little bit behind you. Um, so yeah, I think the Saints, we were sleeping on them coming into the season, basically saying they're not going to be anything special, and all they do is go ahead and destroy the Cowboys in Week 2. Which, granted, I mean, Cowboys, it's not that shocking. I mean, anytime they lose big, I'm just like not surprised because they sometimes just fail to show up on game day. But to lose to the Saints like that, it's not a good look for them. But for the Saints, that's incredible. Like for them to start off 2-0, and they've got a good shot at going 3-0 this week. So, I mean, Derek Carr, he can keep it up. He can keep it up. We're not going to hear any Spencer Rattler talk anytime soon. So that's a good thing. It's a good thing.
Hey, Spencer Rattler might have been the motivation, because they was chanting Spencer's name in preseason. So maybe that was a little fire that Derek Carr needed to start off this hot start, and it was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful seeing them do that to the Cowboys. I loved watching that. We typically have to wait for the playoffs for the Cowboys to do something like that. but Christmas came early. They did it in week 2. I think that tells us, hey, the Eagles, they struggled, but the way the Cowboys played week 2, I think the Eagles still in prime position to be all right because the Cowboys are not to be trusted. Panic button on a scale of 1 to 10. These 0-2 teams, how much should the panic be for these teams? We're going to start off. We mentioned them earlier. The Rams. Nobody expected them per se to win a Super Bowl again, but they were expected to be a playoff team, and we know the numbers. Teams that start off 0-2, starting off the season, it's like a 9% chance that they make the playoffs. What should the panic level be at for the Los Angeles Rams?
Pretty much as high as it can be. I mean, they lost Puka, they lost Cooper Cup. Um, sure, Matthew Stafford is still there, so but the offensive line is just destroyed. Like they can't even run the ball. Kyron Williams doesn't look the same this year, so uh, the panic button has set in. Um, it's not looking pretty in LA right now. So uh, they're probably not getting their top two guys back for another month and a half, 2 months. By then, they could be eliminated from playoff contention. But that could be a good thing. Maybe they drop low enough that they can, you know, they didn't mean that when they said F them picks because they're gonna need it next year. That first round pick is gonna be very crucial. Probably a quarterback if it comes down to it. If I'm McVay, I'm already thinking ahead because Stafford each game it always looks like just a movie scene where the guy's just limping up the field. You're rooting for the underdog. Like this guy just, it's always like that every game. So they got to plan ahead. Um, Forget about that Bryce Young talk. It would be a good fit, but they could shoot higher than that. But yeah, they're not. They're not. They're not making the playoffs. I think we can eliminate them now, week 2.
Look, I mean, Sean McVay and Stafford deserve some respect here. And I don't think Miles was being disrespectful. He wasn't talking about the Giants after all. But I think with the Rams and the situation, it is tough. It's a bleak situation. It's bleak. I do think that Sean's gonna figure some things out and be able to kind of piece together some offense throughout the year. But can they survive and flow without those two receivers, without the two go-to guys? And then the O line being banged up is tough. It's tough. And this may fix settle up to be a year where they can kind of get up out of the Stafford, situation and at least find his replacement. I hope, for my sake, that's not true. I do think they'll be better than the Giants because it's easy to be better than the Giants, but it's not about the Giants. So yeah, hit the panic button. Hit the panic button. That's all I'll say. All I'll say about that.
Last two teams, we're going to look straight in the AFC North. It's upsetting. I know you guys wanted to hear our fans, our listeners, to hear Chris's perspective, Cincinnati's very own on the AFC North, because there's two teams there that are 0-2. We'll start off with the Bengals. What should be the panic level? Are we hitting the panic button in Cincinnati?
I'm not. I'm not. I got a lot of belief in Joe Burrow. They're still healthy as a group. If not for an idiot playing cornerback, uh, a guy whose name we don't even know I don't even know where they found him, making that dumb pass interference play and messing up the game, they would have won. They would have won, and their defense did a heck of a job against Pat Mahomes, and I think the defense is going to continue to play well the rest of the year. They're a well-coached team. The Bengals don't you typically do start out get off to fast starts anyways. It's not really their thing, to be honest. And I think the biggest thing they have to contend with isn't even so much, you know, who they're playing against or a schematics thing. It's Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase in that locker room is probably weighing that locker room down. Okay, he he's angry. He's angry. You can see he's angry. You can see that he's upset about the contract situation. It's spilling out. It's manifesting itself in his behavior on the field. It's manifesting himself in his behavior in post-game press conferences too. He needs to really do some soul searching and figure out how he wants to approach the rest of the season and what he wants to get out of it because he chose to play. No one forced him to. He chose to. He chose to come to work. God forbid. So it is what it is with the Jamar situation, but it's a problem for the team, and he needs to figure out if he's in or if he's out. And so I think that's the biggest thing they have to contend with. But as far as Joe Burrow, he's still playing football at a really high level. He's still making high level throws. He hasn't regressed. The wrist seems to be fine. And T. Higgins is, again, playing on borrowed time with that 1 year situation too. But if they can keep the pieces together and keep the energy in the locker room up, in spite of the fact that they have two receivers, the best players on offense besides Joe Burrow, aren't compensated long term, which is a big thing to contend with. Again, they may not survive it, but if they can, they'll be fine. That's the way I look at it. It all boils down to that. Cheap organization. Another one. Cheap organization. Terrible. Terrible. We should do. We're not too far from you guys sharing jock straps. We're not that far away. It always manifests itself in a different way. We've evolved, and now you're not paying your premier wide receivers. You're not taking care of these guys, right? And you have a Super Bowl window with this great quarterback. What are we doing? What are we doing? Why do these fools still walk across the street to go to practice? Why they got to dodge traffic to get to practice? Why they got to dodge? Why they got to dodge? Why they got to dodge Chargers to get to practice? Why? Really?
Dodge Chargers.
Why?
Nah, that's fact. That's facts, bruh. To have Joe Burrow and like you said, we all know in the NFL it's a window. It's a window. Like, granted, because of Joe Burrow, the Josh Allens of the world, the Patrick Mahomes of the world, any given year you can win the Super Bowl. But when you have a roster like that and y'all already tasted success that close, y'all had it literally in your grasp, I would think you would be all in. I would think they would be all in, but obviously that's not the case with the Bengals. On the flip side, the Baltimore Ravens, nobody, I don't think, foresaw them being 0-2. The offense doesn't really look good. Derrick Henry, he has a total of like 125 yards, and I get it. Derrick Henry is another slow starter type of player, but it's not looking good. And that defense does not look good either. Panic button for the 0-2 Ravens.
Smash the panic button.
Yeah.
I'll let Miles go, but smash the panic button. That's all I'll say. I'll let Miles go though.
I mean, yeah, I'm hitting the panic button for them because they haven't looked good to start the season. Granted, not many teams have looked that great to start the season. Most teams didn't really play their starters in preseason, so there's that. But losing to the Chiefs, that was a tough one, the way it ended. But then you follow that up. Instead of bouncing back, you lose to the Raiders, who's, I mean, I don't think we were expecting the Raiders to be a playoff team. And for you to, that was supposed to be your get right game. Not, and you're at home too, and you lose that game. So now they got the Cowboys this week, Bills after that, and then the Bengals. They could easily be 1-4, 0-5 if they keep it up because they lost a lot of pieces on defense. The offensive line isn't playing that great. Um, and outside of Zay Flowers, I mean, Mark Andrews is coming off of foot and ankle surgery, so he's not 100%. So, I mean, Lamar, he deserves a little bit of the blame, but all around, this offense isn't looking too pretty out there. And then the guy they spent money on, Derrick Henry, even though it's like a 1 year deal, you're not really using them the right way. I mean, sure, you're not going to ride the the running back like he was getting in Tennessee, but still, I feel like you got to use him a little more, break down the defense, and try to feed off of that, make plays off of that. But we'll see. Maybe week 3 is a little different against the Cowboys. That could be the get right game because Dak and them boys haven't looked right since the season started. So.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the get right game because to your point of the Derrick Henry aspect, that should be a game where he does get 100 yards running because the Cowboys still have not fixed one of their biggest issues, stopping the run. They cannot stop the run, and they're really are built to be a front running team. If we're up on you, we can keep our lead. If they got to come back, Dak only has one weapon, CD.
Yeah.
Y'all not in a position that y'all need to be coming back because you can't go score with the best of them. We saw against the Saints. You cannot go score with the best of them because you don't have enough weapons. You come into a war and all you got is one musket gun, while other teams literally have everything. So That's how it is right there. On the
Tone,
flip side, go ahead. Go ahead.
Tone.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna say one thing about the Ravens before we move on. Okay,
Mhm.
Lamar has not been sharp. Lamar has not been good. He's not been on time with the football. He's not played within rhythm. He's not playing within the pocket and just evolving as a pocket passer, which is why I'm hitting the panic button. I'm also hitting the panic button because the offensive coordinator sucks ass. Oh my, he sucks. He sucks. Okay, the receivers are running crazy routes. The route concept don't make any real sense. They're not, he's not getting the ball on time in certain situations. He has to create everything on his feet. That's why they can't build leads and sustain offense for long periods of time. I have a real problem with the way they're running their offense. The same way I have a problem with the Bears. It's not much better. It's just that Lamar's a better player than Caleb is. And you got better players than USA Flowers, who's better than anybody they have over there as a receiver. Might be a hot take, I don't know, but it is. All right, so that's the way I look at it. I just want to add that. So fix your offense, get a new offensive coordinator, Ravens, because this year it ain't happening for you. You ain't winning no championship with that guy. Whoever's calling plays, I think it's the guy from George. What was it, Munkin,
Yeah,
Todd
Todd
Munkin?
Monken.
Yeah, he's to get out of here. It's time for him to go. I've seen enough. I've seen enough. So yeah, that's my main issue. But we can keep going. I just wanted to get my 2 cents in. That's all.
Oh no, that's cool. I mean, if they need help, when I play with the Ravens in Madden, I do way more than what they've been doing so far. Like I've been doing way more in Madden with what they doing. So if
You
Ty
don't even like
need
their
help,
you don't even like their playbook in Madden. So
I
there's
hate
that.
I hate they play with Madden.
There you
Yeah, they Miles. I'm not gonna go on a tangent, but the playbook in Madden is disgusting. They had for shotgun, it was only 6 plays, bro.
That sounds about
But
right.
they had 53 plays in the goal line. They
Jesus.
had 64 plays in I formation.
It's a joke. It's a joke.
Half of the pass plays are play action.
Mhm.
That's how. Yeah, it was absolutely disgusting.
Hey man, they're catering to their quarterback.
Yeah, J Cole has said it. J Cole has said it, and somebody said it before him, and somebody said it before that person. Everything that glitters ain't gold. There's a couple teams that have started 2-0. Now we're not going to mention every 2-0 team because teams like the Bills, that's not surprising. We would expect that out of a Josh Allen led team. Maybe not 2-0, but it's not surprising. Some teams that are surprising that are off to a 2-0 start. The Chargers, 2-0 to start off. Right now, they're on pace. It's only 2 games in, but they're on pace with Kansas City to possibly be that second best team to win the get into the playoffs. Maybe battle for the division. Harbaugh is doing his thing. J.K. Dobbins looks rejuvenated. Baltimore. We just talked about the Ravens. J.K. Dobbins looks really good.
Mhm.
Maybe it was Yah that was the problem. Real deal or fool's gold when you see the Chargers?
Real deal for me. Real deal for me. I'm a believer. I'm a believer. I know. I think Miles is gonna go another way, which is good. Which is good. This is good. I'll tell you why as a real deal, and then Miles, you tell me why you think they are frauds. If that's where you're going with this, me, I think the NFL's transition. We've gotten away from pass happy. The quarterback play has been terrible. The number of touchdowns scored through the air by quarterbacks is down significantly as opposed to any other year. And I think this is the perfect time to bring Jim Harbaugh, old school behind, into the league, right? To run, just run the ball. Literally, he just running the football or going to old school smash mouth football, and you have a guy as talented as Herbert picking his spots, right? So you take more less of the burden, or you take the burden off of him. You allow him to go and pick his spots and make plays in necessary situations, third and longs, but you're rarely in third and long because you drafted Joe Alt and you have Rashawn Slater and you have a bunch of good offensive linemen. You can just run the ball as much as you want. You have a stable of good running backs. They're going to play good ball control football. Their defense has obviously always been talented with Bosa and Derwin James and them dudes and Asante Samuel. So for me, when I look at that team, the makeup of that team, running the football, playing ball control football, keeping your defense fresh, keeping Justin Herbert from being under duress and having the option of play action makes you a viable football team that can go win anywhere when it's cold, when it's hot, when it's a tsunami, whatever. You're gonna go so wherever you're gonna go. You're gonna play good football because they are running the football and they're winning at the line of scrimmage, both offensively and defensively, but specifically offensively. So I think did a real deal. I think Jim Harbaugh has done a great job. He's changed the culture there, and I think Justin Herbert's job got easier. It got easier when Harbaugh walked through that door, and that's what really matters. He had to do too much before. As talented as he is, it was too much. Like it was too much. He can score in 4 plays, and then you give up another touchdown, or the team you're playing against, God forbid, can run the football and keep you off the field. Then what? You know what I mean? That team is built to give the Chiefs a hard time. I won't be surprised if they beat them a couple times this year, or at least once this season. Keep Mahomes on the bench.
You view them as fool's gold, Miles?
I think the jury's still out just because off these first 2 games, I mean, the Raiders and the Panthers, that doesn't really tell me much about how good this team is. I mean, they were going against Bryce Young last week. I mean, they wouldn't be going against him this week. So I think with that, I'm going to wait until the Chiefs Chargers game in a couple weeks to really see, like, that's the real test early on in the season. The schedule only gets harder from here. Like, it's not going to be just all rainbows and butterflies for them this year. Like, sure, Jim Harbaugh is a great coach, and he's coming back, and yeah, you're right, he's going to run it. That's what that offense is built on. I mean, I think who is it? Greg Roman is the offensive coordinator there.
God.
I mean, that's
Yeah,
what
it
he
is.
does. He runs the ball. I mean, ask Lamar. So it's going to be like this all season. And at some point, they're going to have to get in the shootout. And I want to see what that offense looks like when they're asking Justin Herbert to really make plays because they haven't had to lean on this receiving core, which, I mean, it's not a bunch of stars on it. It's Quentin Johnston, Lad McConkey, and Josh Palmer. It's not, that feels like just random names you're, picking out of a hat at recess. So um, I'm hoping that this is, they're moving in the right direction. The Chargers have been waiting on this for years to be good, to start off 2-0 after, the Anthony Lynn's and I don't even know the last name, but he's nowhere to be found now. Um, but the Chargers, I don't know if they're legit or not. I'm like, I'm in between, so I'm gonna say it's incomplete. It's incomplete for now until the Chargers game. If they beat the Chargers, then you know what, I'm gonna buy in on the
The
Harbaugh thing.
Chiefs. Hey, to your point, last game they beat Carolina 26-3. Justin Herbert 14 of 20, 130 yards. That's not going to get it done on most nights. But to you and Miles' point, 219 yards rushing.
Mhm.
Come on, bro.
219 yards rushing.
You don't got to score that much when you run the ball like that.
So 219 yards rushing, if you could do half of that, that puts you in position to actually go and win a lot of games. 131 yards for J.K. Dobbins, 59 yards for Gus Edwards, and another 18 for Herbert. And Haskins had 11 yards rushing too. And Dobbins Edwards is that combination that they had in Baltimore. So they came over with Greg Roman. So maybe it was Baltimore. Never mind. Next 2-0 team, the Minnesota Vikings. This was not expected by many. J.J. McCarthy goes down. Sam Darnold steps in. You're 2-0. Real deal? Fool's gold.
I say the real deal, just because they have two of the components of a good team. They've got solid QB play and they've got a great defense. I mean, this defense with Brian Flores looks way different than they have in the past, and they've gotten rid of some good talent on defense over the past couple of years, just because you run out of money at some point. Daniil Hunter had to let go of some corners and linebackers too. But Brian Flores, I had to see it last week because I mean, didn't really get a good test or get to see what it's like against the Giants. I mean, it is what it is. They destroyed the Giants, but to do it against the 49ers, I mean, you heard Brock Purdy. He was like, your coverages were crazy. Like he kept throwing different coverages and looks at the line of scrimmage, and then once the ball snapped, it was a totally different coverage that's out there. So them doing that, I mean, Brian Flores, he might not get any head coaching jobs, but he's a hell of a defensive coordinator. I mean, he knows what he's doing back there, and he can motivate these guys better than most people. So I know Kevin O'Connell's a really good coach. He's shown that he can win pretty much with anybody. He was winning with Josh Dobbs last year, who might be. I don't know if he's in the league anymore. Is he a backup somewhere?
He's a backup in
He's a
San
backup. All right.
Francisco. Okay.
I wasn't sure. The Rock might have been calling. He might have come calling soon. But yeah, I think this Vikings team is legit.
Now, look, I feel the same way, but I feel more strongly about Brian Flores' ability to coach defense and confuse people than I do about Sam Darnold's resurgence. And I believe in it, by the way. I think it's real. I think he's going to be a good player from here on out. I think he's in a good situation. Kevin O'Connell can really coach offensive football. And he has Justin Jefferson, which never hurts. And Addison is still playing up until his next crash out session. So he's still available, which is the best, which is all that matters. So you have two top tier wide receivers on your team you can throw the ball to. So great situation offensively. Sam deserves a lot of credit. And this is why situation matters. We talked about it before. That's why situation matters. He's in the right situation, and it allows him to be the best version of himself. So give him credit. All the credit in the world. But defensively, Brian Flores is going to confuse a lot of good quarterbacks in the league. Watching him confuse Brock Purdy last week made me feel a little bit better about what happened to Daniel Jones in week 1. Not that I'm looking for silver linings with Daniel Jones. I'm done with him. I'm done. That is such a that breakup. We are so done. We are never getting back together, like Taylor Swift said. It's never happening. But the situation with the situation with Brian Flores and his ability to confuse people, he'll start a play with like everybody at the line of scrimmage, like it's an all-out blitz, and then you snap the ball and everyone just sprints back into a cover 3 or a cover 2 or a cover 4. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen. So he really is doing his thing, and I hope this leads to him getting a head coaching job. And I hope that when he gets that opportunity, he's a better person, because coaches got to be good people, and treating Tua the way he did was dead wrong. And if he doesn't get another opportunity, it'll be because of the way he treated Tua, and because of the fact that it's public knowledge now, which doesn't help him. But the way he coaches defensive football, you could argue he deserves a chance. And if that team makes a real run here, makes the playoffs, and they get in, he's going to get some calls. Because I'll tell you one thing that's never stopped the football team from hiring someone is being a good person. They don't give a damn. They don't give two damns about that at all, about how good of a person you are. You could run someone over on the way to work. Can you do your job, though? Are you good? Are you good at what you do? Then I don't give a damn. I don't care. Come to work. Come do what you do. Greg Hardy threw on a pile of guns. Jerry called his line. Okay, never forget that. So
but
I'm just saying.
Jerry. You know how Jerry get down. Jerry likes to
it's autumn,
bring.
Though. It's autumn though.
I'm saying, specifically, Jerry had a stint where he had like 3 straight seasons where they had at least 5 convicted criminals on their roster. Like, it was something absolutely crazy. The only thing is with Flores, though, I agree. Defensively, what he's doing, he should get calls. But because he still has that lawsuit going on,
is it still going on?
He never dropped it. Ain't no owners rocking with that man. Unless he drop it, ain't no owners rocking with him. So that's the only thing I think that will hold him back. They be like, oh, wow, great defense. You still got that lawsuit. I could see it in the meetings. We'll do the interview process because, we're supposed to interview black people. Come on, come here. And that's going to be the first question. Hey, you want to drop that lawsuit? You drop the lawsuit, you get a job. What you want to do? So
I'm pretty sure they're not allowed to say that, but they will say it anyways.
They're going to hit him with the "we'll be in touch."
Another team that's 2-0 that I don't know if they're surprised, but to see back-to-back season, it seems like Baker has really figured it out over in Tampa Bay. Real deal or fool's gold. Another team that's 2-0 that we're not going to touch on is the Steelers, because that's disgusting. It's been a disgusting 2-0. So we not even want to touch on them. For our Steelers fans, I don't mean disrespect, but it's been 1965 type of football. How y'all been getting them wins. It's been nasty. But the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, real deal or fool's gold?
I think Baker's resurgence is real. I think what we saw from Baker when he struggled was more the product of an injury. Because I think that the accuracy, the ability, the pocket mobility, the feel for the game is there. The swagger, all of it is there. He's playing at a high level. So you pair that with the Buccaneers defense with Antoine Winfield, who's a stud, and their linebackers and Kalaja Kancey and the defensive line, um, Jamel Dean, like they have a good defense and they're physical. They're real physical. So I'm gonna say yes. They're a playoff team again this year. I guess the question really is, can Baker take them further than he did last year? Can Baker help that team's level rise a little bit with his play? And he looks good. He looks good. There's going to be some tests later on this year, but I think they're built for it. And I think Todd Bowles, I'm happy for him that he's having some success over there and that he's got a good quarterback and that he's got a good offense. Obviously, they have a good offensive line with Wirfs and them dudes. So yeah, I'm a believer. I'm a believer in what they're doing, and I think it's in large part because Baker's found himself again. But he hasn't just found himself; he's found a better version of himself too, which is even better. And I think that he's going to take another step forward this year, which is really cool. It's good. It's good to see him back on his feet. I like him. I like the way he plays the game. I like the energy he brings to it and the swagger. I think swag matters when you're a quarterback. Call me crazy. I love when Kyler Murray threw that a touchdown pass where he made five dudes miss, rolled out to his left, threw it, and literally turned around and put his hand in the air. The ball was about 5 feet from his hand. He turned around, put his hand in the air. That's you need that. You need that. I say this as a guy who has a swaggerless quarterback leading my football team. No swagger, nothing, swaggerless, if you will. So I really enjoy what he's bringing to the game. I think they're the real deal. I think they're a very physical team, and offensively in the trenches they can run the ball, they can throw the ball, and they can stop the run. I love teams that can do that. I think the Buccaneers deserve some love. Playoff team.
Hey, so NFC South was, viewed at the beginning of the year by most panels, analysts, sports talking heads that was not the division to even worry about. They have two 2-0 teams. Which of these teams you think actually ends up winning that division, Bucks or Saints?
I
Ain't
think the
the
same.
Falcons in there too?
They're 1-1, I
Both of them
believe.
have 2-0.
Oh, you're saying two and no teams. Okay. Because
Yeah.
Falcons are in the conversation. Them Dirty Birds, they're gonna be there at the end. Just saying. But different conversation, I guess. Uh Bucks or Saints? I'm gonna
I
go
mean,
Bucks.
if you
I'm
if
gonna go
you if
Bucks.
you feel the Falcons gonna actually come out and win it, we could
Look,
throw them in that mix.
I think they're in the mix. I think they're because for me, the Falcons defense is really impressive. I thought their safety play is incredible. I mean, I don't think I've seen a
Jesse
team with two.
Bates
Oh my
is really
gosh.
good.
Yo man, they've got to have two guys at that level on your team. Simmons is it, and then Bates to have them both. Your safety play is top tier. I haven't seen a team with better safety play maybe since Ed Reed's Ravens, man. Like, and I that is really high level safety play they have back there. They obviously can get after the passer with their pass rush and Judon and them boys up front. Garrett, J- what's his name? Jared something. Great Grady. I don't know what his. You know what I'm talking about. Y'all know what I'm talking about. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
y'all know what I'm talking about. You can cut it out. But with the Falcons, I love their defense. I think Kirk's gonna get better and better with time. When he's on time, he's special. Darnell Mooney is underrated. I mean, damn, get him away from Justin Fields, huh? And he can play some football now, can he? When you have a guy who can hit the guy on time, hit him out of his break, throw it with anticipation, he cooking right now, and he's not with Justin Fields anymore. And you know what I'm saying? I'm just being real, just being real. But I'm really enjoying watching them play, and I thought they earned that win the other night against the Eagles over there. I thought they did. The Eagles are a different conversation we can have, which you know, maybe we'll get there, maybe we won't. But for your sake, Philly fans, I hope we don't. But yeah, I think they have a chance to win this division. I think it's going to come down to the Falcons and the Bucks. I think that's where it's going to break down to those two teams. The Saints will fizzle off.
You think Falcons and Bucks it comes down to, Miles?
I think it's. I'm thinking Saints this year. Honestly,
Wow.
I mean, if I'm
Wow.
looking at their infrastructure, they did what they did last week against Dak without Marshawn Lattimore. Like he wasn't even playing. He hasn't played, I think, the first couple games, which I mean, it's been a theme. But once they get him back, you're getting the number one cornerback. The defense is really good. And that offense, I mean, is dangerous. You got the two-headed monster between like Chris Olave, Shaheed, and then maybe even the best back in football right now in Alvin Kamara. So all those factors, I mean, it's gonna be interesting. Like that's a fun division to look at. Even though we talked about how bad they've been usually each year, um, it's gonna be some fun games between them. Saints, Falcons, Buccaneers. Because the Buccaneers have a good win on their resume too, with the Lions win last week. So this division is going to be competitive, like you said. So, but I like the Saints. I think I'm a believer in the Saints this year. And where's the Super Bowl this year?
New
I'm not saying they're
Orleans.
going. I'm not saying they're going, but I'm sure there's a little added motivation to step it up.
I'm happy for
And
Derek Carr. So
who Greg was referring to, Grady Jarrett. Grady
Grady
Jarrett.
Jarrett, yeah,
That's the
yeah.
name that he was referring to.
It's a weird name, Grady.
Yeah,
What black
it's
guy
kind of
named Grady?
two first names, low key.
Yeah, like, well, you know a black dude named Grady?
Nah,
I'm
not that
just
I
saying.
not that comes not that comes to my mind. Saints just don't do any bounty gate or nothing like that to get back to the Super Bowl. And y'all be all right. Week 3 picks. We got week 3 picks, and Mazel gonna give us his all-time Jets offensive lineup to end the show. Week 3, we're gonna have the graphic up for y'all. So we're not gonna go through every single game. We're not gonna do that at all during the week. Right now, we are at an hour and 1 minute. We are doing great time. Y'all not gonna watch any much longer than that. So we will not be doing that on any episodes. But some of the top games this week: Houston at Minnesota. Both are 2-0. Who y'all got winning this one?
Houston. Houston. I think CJ Stroud is good enough to overcome the what the heater that Flores is on that we talked about. So I'm gonna go with Houston. I think they're a Super Bowl contender this year. I think they're the real deal. They are. They are. So I'm gonna go Houston. Houston's my team. Houston's my second team. Since my got a second team, I got a second team too. Houston's my second team.
Yeah, you be in Houston more than Ruby Rose. But I'm gonna rock with the Vikings on this one. I think Vikings at home, they're riding high. Brian Flores is gonna have a great game plan for CJ. Uh, they're possibly down Joe Mixon this week, so that adds a little wrinkle into it. So yeah, I think the Sam Darnold train. Like if you're not on it, I mean, you're gonna have to get on at the next stop. But Sam Darnold, he's balling this year. Justin Jefferson's gonna be there, and Flores. I mean, he's got a point to prove. It feels like this year. He's coaching like he's trying to coach for a head coaching job. So if he's coaching like that all year, then Vikings. I mean, they might win the division again.
Next game, and we could touch on this a little bit because you did bring it up, and that was my thought process to bring it up in this game. Philly at New Orleans. Who wins this game? And I purposely saved it for this. Before you even give me your selection, Maj, you could touch on this, and I know Greg probably got want to touch on this. What are your thoughts on how Philly has played so far, specifically Jalen Hurts? When we look at the last game,
Yeah.
Jalen Hurts.
I don't think it was as bad as like that last interception. Sure, granted, but I feel like he played a solid game up until that point for only like he had Jahan Dotson, who's been here for all of 2 weeks. He was throwing to the kick returner, who's like a buck 40, soaking wet. I don't even know how he had that many catches to begin with, but him and Devontae have a connection. Um, and I think for the most part, he did his thing. Like he ran it. He was the playmaker. He was like, you know what, these guys aren't getting open. I'm gonna tuck it. I'm gonna run it. and this is how we're going to try to win this game. And if Saquon makes that catch, they're 2-0. But Saquon, I'm not blaming you. The the lights get bright sometimes. So
Oh,
um, Jalen, I don't think he played as bad as he did in the first game against Brazil. I think he made some boneheaded plays in that one, some dumb interceptions in the red zone. He cleaned it up a little bit in this game, but he did get hit when he threw that interception at the end. But still, it's a tough loss to go into this game. But Saints Eagles, I'm gonna pick the Saints for this one, just because one, they're at home, two, they're pretty much fully healthy, and um, I think the same issues are gonna be at on hand for the Eagles this week. Not that many playmakers. Gonna have to try to ride Saquon and Devontae Smith, and a lot of QB sneaks from Jalen Hurts to sneak out an ugly one. But I don't even know if this defense is good enough to slow down the Saints. Like they're rolling on all cylinders right now. Derek Carr is probably the hottest QB in the league right now. So
the Philadelphia's I almost said 76ers. The Philadelphia Eagles are poorly coached.
I was
They're
gonna say
poorly
that too.
coached. You
He's
know what I
on the
mean?
hot seat. The block is hot. Like Lil Wayne said, the hot seat is right there.
And no one is more deserving of being on a hot seat than Nick Sirianni, as arrogant as he is, and his conduct on the sidelines for years has been embarrassing. He's been embarrassing. And then you hear the rumor that he didn't even address the team after the game, right? And that it was Jalen Hurts, who's because he's the adult in the room. Jalen Hurts is. He addressed the team after the game. It's a joke. If that situation's a powder keg waiting to explode, he's not going to make it past this year because it's Super Bowl or bust for that with that team. When you go sign Saquon Barkley, it's Super Bowl or bust. Bottom line. But I'll tell you a couple things. One, they didn't fix the defensive backfield. They have the same problems they had last year. They're not much better. They're not much better. They're a little bit better, but they're not much better. Than and when you play against the top dogs in this league, they're going to tear you. They're going to tear you up. They're going to tear you up. All right, they're going to go after Quinton Mitchell. There's nobody in that defensive backfield to be scared of. Darius Slay's in the back nine. Darius Slay's in the back nine. He's not as good as he once was. He got cooked by Drake London on that last route for the touchdown to the game winner. Okay, he's on the back nine. So that's my first thing. Number two, Jalen Hurts, not who we made him out to be. I shouldn't say we, who y'all made him out to be after the Super Bowl run. He's not. He's not. I'm just being honest. The turnovers are ridiculous for a quarterback of that stature. For a guy we're talking about in that conversation, top 10. I mean, I think we did a quarterback ranking one year where Miles had him top six, top five. He was in the top five. For if you're gonna be in that conversation, the criticism, the level, the criteria, it's more strict. It's for you because you can't be turning the football over if you're a top five quarterback in a situation where you lose the lead, you have a minute left with one timeout, you need a field goal, you're down by one. Jake Elliott's your kicker. Once you get past the damn nose of the eagle, you're in the range. There is no reason why you can't get there. There's no reason why you throw a pick in that situation if you're who people tell me you are. That's all I'm saying. You're riding off that Super Bowl run. It's not illegitimate. It's illegitimate. It's not real. All I'm telling you is not real. We have to adjust the way we look at Jalen Hurts as a football society. I'm already there. Y'all can join me if y'all want. You guys cannot. But when you guys disappointed at the end of the year, just know that I told you so. And another thing too, and this is the last thing I'll say about the Eagles. It bothers me when I see quarterbacks consistently leaving the pocket, running to extend the play, and that's the form of offense. That means your offensive coordinator ain't cooking up good route concepts and good route combinations that you're not because you can't play on time. With an offensive line like the one he has, the fact that Jalen Hurts has to run to the right, and he only goes to his right. He doesn't go to his left, by the way. Weakness. But he likes to go to his right and then throw the ball, and that's how you get in first downs consistently. I'm telling you right now, in the playoffs, they ain't gonna go. They ain't gonna go. They're showing a lot of the same weaknesses they showed last year when they got bounced by the Buccaneers early, and that was not a mistake. And the Buccaneers, if those two teams link again this year, the Buccaneers bounce them again. They'll get them out of there. They'll get them out of there again. So I kind of I hit the nail on the head with all my points, but I'm telling y'all, the Eagles, I don't see Super Bowl contender when I watch them, and it's early. I understand that the corners can get better, but Nick Sirianni ain't getting no better. So even if y'all do, you got that to deal with. Good luck, but not actually, because I hate you all.
Hey, last game, Detroit at Arizona.
Detroit,
Arizona. I'm gonna take Arizona in this one. Detroit lost last week. I think they did too. They're gonna
the
be pissed.
Buccaneers.
They lost. Right. I think Arizona is a good football team, and I'm proud to say that I've never not been a believer in Kyler Murray. That I never left the Kyler Murray, hype train. I never really left it. I think he's supremely talented. I think
Well,
he's a
wait,
great
you're
athlete.
friends with him on online on Call of Duty, right?
Yeah, that's why I didn't leave. That's why I didn't leave the hype train. I played with Call of Duty with them. But yeah, I mean, he's a special talent, special talent, and he's playing great football again. And Marvin Harrison shut the doubters up. 4 catches, 130, 2 touchdowns. Thank you, Marvin, for my fantasy team. But yeah, man, I really think they have a good team. I think they have a good defense, a feisty defense. They can get after the passer. They can win on the line of scrimmage defensively. And their corners aren't half bad. And Buda Baker's playing high level football again. Damn, he's a good player. Damn. Great in run support. So I think they're going to be a good team. And I think that they're going to surprise some people. And I think this is kind of where you start to see their a little bit of their ascension here. They're going to go on a little bit of a run, and I think it starts with beating Detroit. Whoever one taps is a Super Bowl contender. I think they can beat Detroit. I really do believe that. And look, if you ask me for a heads up, 1-on-1, quarterback versus quarterback, who I'm taking, Jared Goff or Kyler Murray. I'm taking Kyler Murray every day and Sunday, every day, every day of the week. So that's my logic there.
Yeah, I'm going with the Cardinals too. I think Kyler Murray, he's on my fantasy team. I think he's gonna have a special year. We saw it last week. He was unreal, unreal. And like you said, that throw he made where it was basically like Curry when he shoots that three and turns away to the crowd, like that's what he did last week. So once
Different.
he did that, he showed me, all right, he's back. He's back. Um, and the Lions, they're due for a little slump. Everybody was riding high off of them. People were even predicting Super Bowl contender. I mean, they still are, but predicting that they're going to the Super Bowl this year, which is still to be seen. Like you still got Jared Goff. He still has his deficiencies, and um, but with Kyler Murray rolling, you still got James Conner. Marvin Harrison had a great game, and I think he's coming into his own now. And that defense is playing a lot better. All those factors, I think I got no choice but to rock with the Cardinals. They could honestly be 3-0 if they had played a solid second half of football against the Buffalo Bills.
In Buffalo, they almost
In
beat them, by the
Buffalo,
way.
yeah.
In Buffalo,
They
they're
was
real.
they were spanking them in the first half, and then
Hmm.
you
Almost beat them.
All right, Miles handed off to end off the show. Quarterback, running back, two wide receivers, a tight end. All time Jets offensive lineup. And for those that's wondering, Greg is going to do his all-time Giants offensive lineup next week, and if we can fit it in, all-time Nets lineup because Miles did give us his all-time Knicks lineup, and we'll
Yeah.
do this throughout the year. After that, we'll do other teams, and we'll figure out what we think is the all-time Lakers lineup or the all-time Chiefs lineup because our teams, you know, are done after that. Excluding some people that have two teams, but you know.
all right. So for the Jets lineup, I'm gonna rock with Joe Namath. I mean, one Super Bowl. He's the only quarterback to ever done it. So him predicting the win, calling it out. You could say what you want about it. He got us a Super Bowl. So that's half the battle. I'm taking him over guys like Testaverde and Chad Pennington. I mean, I want winners. Those guys didn't win. So be it. Curtis Martin's my running back. I mean, he's arguably a top 10 running back of all time. I mean, that guy was really good. Receivers, I'm going to go with Brandon Marshall. even though it was for one historic season, that was the best season in Jets history. That 1 year with Ryan Fitzpatrick was unreal. He was probably, arguably, the best receiver in the game at that point that year. Um, and my second receiver, Keyshawn wasn't here long enough, so I'm gonna go with Wayne Corbett. That guy was rock solid. He was the best slot receiver I think we've ever had. Um, he didn't go out on top though. Too many concussions. But when he was on the field, that guy was really good. I mean, he's in the Ring of Honor for a reason. So, and then tight end. Tight end is a little tougher. I'm gonna go with Dustin Keller. I think when we took him way back in the Sanchez years, I think he was solid. He was one of those tight ends in the mold of like a Vernon Davis, who's you know 6'3", athletic, can make plays happen after the catch. So I'm gonna rock with Dustin Keller on that.
There you have it. That's the all-time Jets lineup. I don't know how many teams that all-time Jets lineup would actually beat against some of these other all-time lineups that we'll do. Like you just said, that tight end position a little weak. Wide receiver 2, you put Wayne Corbett in the slot, but to your point, it's not a lot of winning history and not a lot of winning players that have come through the Jets organization. But you got Curtis Martin, and you know how I feel about Joe Namath, but I guess we've debated that plenty of times, so we're not gonna go into it. So I get why you like Joe Namath, because he stayed ready, so he ain't had to get ready. Bench Mob, we out. Peace.
Peace.
Yeah, we done.